Alright, so in the last video we were looking at section 7.4, combining these different exponent rules, and I had simplified what's inside part G here first, and then after I'd simplified that I said there were two ways to deal with this problem. One was that I could take care of the negative portion of this first and then square it, but the other way I could do it would be to actually square it and then take the reciprocal of it. So if I squared everything, I would get 9x squared and then over 25y to the sixth, and then I would be raising that to the -1 power because I haven't taken care of the negative portion. And then that says take the reciprocal of it, which you see that ends up looking exactly the same. Now there is a third alternate method which just says take this -2 and raise everything to the -2 power. The only thing that I don't like about that is with numbers to negative exponents, sometimes we get a little confused by those. And so I find students have less success in raising everything to a -2 power. So I suggest that when we have a power rule that involves a negative exponent, that we actually deal with the negative portion of the exponent first, and then the numeric part, or the numeric part first, and then the reciprocal portion. All right, now moving on to our next problem, part H here. We're going to see simplification first here in the inside. So again, we could deal with the exponents on the x's quotient rule as 2 minus a -1, which is 2 plus 1, which is a 3. Or you could simply say that this is a -5x squared y cubed, and then over the 4, and then we see the -1 says it's not where it belongs, and we could take that x and put it up here in the numerator, which would then be a product rule. At any rate, we're going to get exactly the same answer. So we get -5x to the third y cubed, and this is over 4. Now once we have that, we have to deal with the power rule on the outside here, which again we have a negative exponent and we have a cubed. Now with this negative exponent, one of the things that you do not want to confuse is the negative exponent has nothing to do with this negative power. So let's take the reciprocal of this first, deal with that negative exponent first. So I'm going to take the reciprocal, which means I'm going to put the 4 in the numerator, the -5x cubed y cubed into the denominator, and then after I've done the reciprocal, now I'm just going to deal with the cubing part. And now I can cube all the things inside. So 4 cubed is 64 over negative cubed is still a negative, 5 cubed, which is 125, and then x cubed 3 times 3, which is 9, so x to the 9th. And then y cubed 3 times 3 is 9, so y to the 9th as well. Now remember that denominator, negative being in the denominator, remember a positive divided by a negative or a negative divided by a positive, it doesn't matter. So we could either put the negative up here in the numerator, we could leave it here in the denominator, or we could just stick it out here in front. And my preference is usually to just stick it out there in front because it's a negative fraction, and to write it like that, where we see the negative of the fraction rather than the simply having it associated with a negative or a positive. Now the only problem with that is sometimes it gets messed up with the fraction bar, so you'll also see me put it up in the numerator. I don't really like to leave them in the denominator, however. Alright, and that was it for those particular problems. Now what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you take a look at these and do these on your own, and then we'll come back to those in the next video and take a look and see how you did. So take all of these problems down, pause the video, write them all down, copy them down, and then you can see how you do when you come back. So there is a little bit bigger, so you can maybe see those a little bit bigger, or you can grab the notes from the website.